The coaches don't care who's up next. Oscar Delp said that a couple days ago. One of the first times we got to talk to the Georgia tight end in an official media capacity. Obviously, um, bowl season is the only time since he was a freshman last season. So heading into this thing, we got to hear from Oscar Delp. We heard from Marcus Jackson the other day, who I will include a little bit of what he had to say in this video, just because it's true. It is a next man up mentality, and you're going to see that this season. You're going to see that the season after. You've seen it the previous 7 seasons that Kirby Smart has been the head coach of Georgia, and you see it across the country and across the sport. If you can't perform, or if you're not there anymore, it's next man up. And Georgia prepares all of these players to go out there and play. Think about the freshmen each season for Georgia that make impact plays and go in there. Someone that we're going to hear from this week as well, Jalen Walker, a freshman who, as the season went on, he got out there more. Hey, next man up, right? There are some linebacker injuries. Nolan Smith, right? So there's more to be done in the linebacker room. Well, guess what? Freshmen like Darius Smith and Marvin Jones Jr. and Jalen Walker, they get to play. Oscar Delp, next man up. Darnell Washington's gone. Georgia had a generational tight end room. 2 different types of generational talents at the tight end position were on Georgia's roster last year in Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington. And Oscar Delp, a player who I think is going to have a good season, a player who will probably be the tight end 1 next season, right? In 2024, it will be Oscar Delp as the leader of that room probably, right? It's next man up because he's going to have to fill in for a lot of what Darnell Washington did. Me and Dean discussed this on riding home the other day a little bit. But look, what was Darnell Washington? 6'8", not 300 pounds, but almost 300 pounds, 280, something like that, 270 maybe. Well, Oscar Delp is not that, but it's next man up, and he's going to have to try to make some of the plays that Darnell Washington made, and he's going to have to make different plays that Darnell Washington wasn't a part of, and you could see that. But I'm going to go through some more examples of next guy up. Some of them are going to be obvious, some of them might not be obvious, but that is the mentality of Georgia. And when you recruit, when these teams and these programs, like Georgia, like in Alabama, like in Ohio State, next man up. They roll through them because they have so much talent and they've coached them so hard at practice to the point where they can't perform. And you see it, but you don't see that at every program because, one, they don't have the talent, or maybe not the coaching, or maybe they just didn't practice hard, but we'll find out. Ryan Curley from Dog Post here. Hey, look, our newsletter is free to sign up for. You want all of these stories, all of the insider information that you can get. We're shoving it in your face every single day on the newsletter. It's free to sign up. If you want to hear about the Georgia Bulldogs, you want to be a smarter Georgia Bulldog fan, sign up for a newsletter because it's free. You're not losing anything. The only thing you're losing is if you don't sign up. So Oscar, I think he's right, and he said some other things that I want to talk about, but real quick, that next man up mentality. Well, okay, Todd Gurley, right? He gets suspended, he gets hurt in 2014. Well, Nick Chubb, next man up, right? That's a very obvious example. There are some that aren't so obvious. You get players like Amarius Mims, right? Something that I thought went under the radar during Georgia's playoff run was the fact that Warren McClendon, Warren McClendon was injured, right? Warren McClendon being injured gave Amarius Mims a chance to play. Next man up. They have the talent to do that. And they have the talent to beat a team 65-7 in a national championship game with backups in the game. Next man up. I've said it about 50 times. So there's an example. Another freshman is going to be, or he wasn't a freshman, but another freshman is probably going to play this year on the offensive line in Ernest Green, right? He would be a redshirt freshman at this point. I don't want to mess that up. Yes, redshirt freshman. So he's going to be on the offensive line this year as the left tackle, right? With Broderick Jones being gone. It was next man up. Broderick Jones is another example. In the national championship game, in the national championship game against Alabama. Broderick Jones, redshirt freshman, and he gets inserted into the game, and they play better with him in there, right? I think Warren Erickson was the guy that ended up coming out from that, and they moved Jamar Salyer over. Maybe they moved Justin Schaefer. I can't remember exactly how they moved that offensive line around, but Broderick Jones is an example of next man up, right? They have all these guys ready to play, and if someone's not performing, they can put someone out there. Because guess who is the next man up, all right? Mike Bobo is the next man up after Todd Monken, and Carson Beck is the next man up after Stetson Bennett. And my point here is that the next man up doesn't matter as much anymore as it used to, and that was proven the last 2 years where Georgia lost all this talent and they're good, and now we're expecting that same thing to happen again. We'll change our opinion if that doesn't happen again, but for right now, Georgia is at a point where it is just next man up. You're going to see that in the running back room this year, especially if they fail to remain healthy, which is the case at this moment, and that's not dogging on them. Injuries happen in the sport. But Kendall Milton has failed to stay healthy recently, and now Branson Robinson as well, right, this offseason. And that's been an issue for Kendall Milton in the past. And now that there's no Kenny McIntosh, there's going to be an extra next man up coming out of the running backs. Daijun Edwards obviously is going to be a big part of that running back room, but I think Roderick Robinson and Andrew Paul are going to get some touches. Now, is that maybe just a couple of games? Maybe they emerge over the season? But younger guys are going to step up for Georgia because they are preparing them from day one to play immediately and play more than one position. Malachi Starks immediately went out there. Immediately. Right? They lose out on Lewis Seen, a first-round NFL safety, and a 5-star freshman comes in. And it takes him like half a quarter to show why he was that and to show why he's at Georgia. And to show why he can help win national championships for Georgia, right? So it starts with the recruiting, and it always starts there, right? It starts with who's in charge of that, and are they doing a good job of that? When they have these depth charts, I've got I don't think this is an accurate depth chart because this is not how I would lay it out, but I'm looking at one right now. And the fact that players like Arian Smith might come off the bench. You know what I mean? I've seen Arian Smith not be in that first unit a few times over the course of this offseason when I get to see some tidbits. And I've seen Arian Smith coming off the bench, right? The way that Georgia, here's what I want to say. So there's no misconception. Georgia, and more specifically Kirby, defines starting football players in a different way. It's more so, do you play a lot? And Arian Smith does play a lot. It's the same thing as Jalen Carter in 2021, right? It wasn't technically a starter, but he was an impact player for Georgia. But you look at this depth chart, and it's just ridiculous. And you want to hear one of the most ridiculous things? Yes, I have come on here. I've come on this channel, and I hope that you've stayed with me for 8 minutes so you can hear this. And if not, I'll say it again in the future. But I've come on this channel, and I have, I guess, criticized, quote unquote, some of these position groups for Georgia. Maybe being weak points, or maybe not being that great, or maybe not being great historically for this school. Okay, so that might be true, but are we really talking about, this is my point about where we're at in reality with Georgia. We're talking about a room that has Kendall Milton, Daijun Edwards, and these other, Branson Robinson is a guy that people are totally excited about, and he's your running back 3? Come on. That's where we're at with the Georgia Bulldogs. We're at a point where the complaints are about position rooms that would be better than most teams in the country, right? Outside of some obvious ones like Michigan, right? Defensive line room. I've said similar things about the defensive line. Is there a game wrecker here? Is someone going to be a Jalen Carter or a first-round talent? And they do probably have a couple guys of that capability, but haven't done that quite yet. Michael Williams was just ranked number 10 for college football players by ESPN. And he's in that position group that some people, and I've said it once or twice on here, that the defensive line is not quite as good. That's where we're at with Georgia. That's where we're at. That's where reality's at. And by we, I don't mean we as in Georgia. I mean just us as college football in a whole, watching Georgia. That's the reality right now. Next man up. Be the next man up or woman up to sign up for the newsletter down below. Thanks.